your thoughts on John Madden and what he meant to the sport he loves so much?
For me, Brandon, it's the word joy. He brought that to the game.
The Coliseum back to its original 70s glory. What a scene in the East Bay. And we're underway in the John Madden Legacy game. And no run back on the opening kickoff. It'll come out to the 25. So it's the NFC stars who will get the ball first. And Charles, as we alluded to, we've got a different era of coach on each sideline. So the man coaching this NFC squad, and we'll call him Young John Madden, this is a coach who was trying to establish a foothold in the NFL and on the cusp of doing it very successfully.
Yeah, you think back to that period, those early days as the coach of the Raiders, the late 60s in the AFL and then in the NFL in the early 70s. Coach was a guy who was ahead of his time. The Raiders were one of the first teams to have mini camps, one of the first to film practice because he wanted to practice coaching as much as he could. And his teams, they were successful right from the start of his head coaching tenure.
Third play here, this opening drive as they're up against a 3rd and 5. To throw is Favre. Over the middle, complete. That's Rice. And he's taken down right at the 45-yard line. Excellent play there on 3rd down. Give him 25 yards. So as we mentioned at the top, let's take you through the life of John Madden. And, you know, it's very fitting that we're here back in the Bay Area, not just because John's so associated with Raider football, but also because this was where he spent his formative years.
Yeah, he grew up over in Daly City with his buddy John Robinson, who would also become an NFL head coach. And he played his high school ball at Jefferson High, eventually wound up playing tackle at the University of Oregon and later Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Played well enough that in 1958, he was a 21st round draft pick of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's right, the draft had 30 rounds then.
They'll throw on 1st down with Favre. That's caught. It's Jerry Rice. And he's going to be taken down at the 28-yard line. But Charles, you mentioned Coach was a 21st round draft pick back in 1958. It was the Philadelphia Eagles who selected him. But unfortunately for John, knee problems, they just continued to dog him. He was hurt in his first training camp, actually never saw the field as a player in the NFL. But it was still during his time with the Eagles, you and I were talking about this before going on air, that you could start to see the light bulb going on for what his career path might entail.
And it went on in a big way, didn't it? Because while he was rehabbing his knee, he started to spend a lot of time breaking down film with the Eagles with quarterback Norm Van Brocklin, the future Hall of Famer and future head coach in the NFL. Remember, Van Brocklin coached with the Falcons. He coached with the Vikings. And was there during that time. I think Coach Madden realized his love of football and love for teaching, combining all that together, and that meant being a football coach. So in 1960, began his coaching career at a small college south of San Luis Obispo called Allen Hancock, and then later at San Diego State University under another legendary coach, the guy who could throw it around pretty well, Don Coryell.
From the shotgun, it's Favre. Throw left side, completion to Rice. And he's brought down, but he has it down to the 12 on a pickup of 12. 1st and 10. Charles, you know, it was in the early 1960s that a young John Madden made the acquaintance of the owner of the Oakland Raiders, one Al Davis, of course, and the two, they really bonded, would become one of the best owner-coach duos in NFL history. And to take it a step further, Al Davis became someone who John referred to as his best friend.
Yeah, 1967, Brandon, Al Davis hired Coach Madden to be a linebackers coach. Remember, this was still the AFL at that point. We had not merged totally with the NFL. And Coach Madden, he paid dividends almost immediately. Helped the Raiders win the AFL title in 1968. And that meant a date with the Green Bay Packers in what was now known as Super Bowl II. But by 1969, at the age of 32, just 32, Brandon, John Madden assumed the mantle of head coach of the
touchdown! George Kittle, a 12-yard touchdown grab. And the NFC takes it all the way down the field to score on their opening drive. Quite the drive there to get things started. They took up the bulk of the first quarter, and they end up in the end zone.
And I love your last point. ended up in the end zone. Because a lot of teams like those long drives, especially to keep their offense off the field, right? Keep the ball away from them. But they finished it with a touchdown. That's the exclamation point. Now, flip it over defensively. They've got to slow that down somehow, right? Maybe they need to be a little more aggressive, maybe a few more pressures towards the quarterback.
Morton Anderson now for the extra point. His kick is good, and the NFC goes up 7-0. So that drive takes him down the field in 8 plays. And it all ends with a George Kittle touchdown. Following the touchdown, here's Anderson to kick it away. Taken in at the 3. And he will make it to the 20-yard line and no further. So, Charles, as mentioned, we've got another Coach Madden over here on the AFC sideline. Of course, his Raiders, members of the AFC West. So this is a conference he battled in for his entire career. And you think about the landscape of the NFL as he was getting into the back half of his tenure. It was a golden era for coaches. You had Don Shula, Tom Landry, Chuck Noll, Bud Grant. But it was John Madden who had the best winning percentage of them all, CD. 759, the best ever.
Brandon, it's hard to believe he could be so successful in a conference with all those great teams. The Steelers won 4 Super Bowls. The Dolphins won 2 and were a mainstay in the playoffs. The Colts were tough. The Broncos came on late and went to a Super Bowl themselves. But against Hall of Fame coaches, John Madden's record, 36, 16, and 2. That's pretty incredible. His Raiders were a factor each and every year.
Brady now on first down. Steps away. And this one is incomplete. Charles, you talked about John Madden and the Raiders going on a ride. Well, try these numbers on for size. In 10 seasons as a head coach, the Raiders won their division 7 times. They finished second the other 3 times, and he became the youngest coach to amass 100 career regular season victories and is still, to this day, the franchise leader in wins.
And when you think about it, that's where that rivalry with Kansas City really took root, as did the expression commitment to excellence. And boy, was it personified by the players who played for Coach Madden. On offense, how about quarterback Kenny Stabler, wide receiver Cliff Branch, wide receiver Brett Biletnikoff, tight end Dave Casper, to name a few. How about those great linemen he had? Center Jim Otto, guard Gene Upshaw, tackle Art Shell, all of them in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And guys on the defensive side of the ball, the Mad Stork himself, Ted Hendricks, Willie Brown, John Matuzak, Otis Sistrunk, and Big Ben Davidson. So many great players, so many great memories.
Throwing on first down, it's Brady. He finds his man, complete. It's Gonzalez. And they get this well past midfield before being stopped just before the 35.
Charles, you think about all the success that John Madden had as an NFL head coach, and he had plenty, and we talked about it, including the 10 straight winning seasons, a Super Bowl title. But like any great coach, he also suffered through a few tough losses along the way as well.
And Brandon, those tough losses came in high-stakes games because they always had such great success. Think about it this way. 6 times in his 10 years, the Raiders were knocked out near the AFL championship game or the AFC championship game. But might be a divisional round exit. That's the one that bothered him most of all. Three River Stadium, December 1972. Yes, the Immaculate Reception game. Franco Harris grabbing the ball that was deflected. Almost at his shoe tops, he picked it up and took it in for a game-winning score to give the Steelers a 13-7 victory. And partner, anyone who loves black and silver still doesn't believe that ball hit anyone in black and silver that day, and that play should never have counted.
And this one almost intercepted. Had a chance to come down with it in the end zone, but could not hang on. The CDE spoke of some of the Raiders' tough playoff losses through the decade of the 70s, but for one shining season, they put it all together, and that was 1976. You remember a 13-1 regular season, a memorable playoff win over New England. They dominated the Steelers 24-7 in the AFC title game, and then a meeting with the Minnesota Vikings in Super Bowl 11.
Oh, Brandon, what a game that was down at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. A gorgeous 53-degree day, perfect for football. Raiders got out to a 16-0 lead at the half, and Clarence Davis, no relation, although I would certainly claim him, strong on the ground, 137 yards rushing. How about Freddie Blitnikoff, the MVP of that game, catching everything that came his way? Kenny Stabler running the offense with precision, and we all remember the one that sealed it. The grand old man himself, Willie Brown, with the laser-focused eyes, picking off Fran Tarkenton and taking it 75 yards for a touchdown. 32-14 the final score. Raiders had their first Super Bowl title, and we got the iconic shot of Coach Madden being lifted on the shoulder pads of his players and carried aloft as a Super Bowl champion.
So both teams come away with points on their opening drives. Now they still trail. They answered the touchdown with a field goal, but at least able to break that goose egg here early.
And that is what's important, right? Because they didn't let that initial touchdown go unanswered. Took the ball themselves, moved it downfield, and put it through the post for 3 points. Game on.
The NFC offense coming out here, and you know, Charles, Coach Madden always said that if he had one drive to win a game and he had to pick a quarterback, he would pick Kenny Stabler. But I think if you asked him to omit any of his Raiders players, there's a good chance the guy he'd select would be Brett Favre.
Brett Favre is always smiling. He's always laughing. He's always talking to someone. He remembers that it's a game, and if it's a game, you should have fun.
And Brandon, that always reminds me of a great movie line where one of the players was telling the coach, every time I say it's a game, you say it's a business. And every time I say it's a business, you say it's a game. With Coach, it was always a game.
Pressure, and the AFC gets to him for the sack. So, Charles, after that Super Bowl title in the 76 season, the Raiders again advanced to the AFC Championship game the following year, but they fell to the Denver Broncos on New Year's Day by a field goal, and that ended their chances for back-to-back titles. And then in 1978, after missing out on the playoffs in that season, John Madden, he actually stepped down as coach of the Raiders January 4th, 1979.
Yeah, and that was a surprise for the league because remember, Brandon, he coached 10 seasons in the NFL, but he put everything he had into the Oakland Raiders, into being a head football coach, into guiding, mentoring, loving his players. And he just sort of felt like it was the right time to step away. And even though he was just 42 when he left, even though there would be overtures for a return to coaching in the future, many overtures, he never returned to the sideline.
Even though he didn't, we all know his work with the NFL was far from finished, and a lot of chapters of the John Madden story were still left to be written.
So, Brandon, we've sat in with a lot of coaches, and when they talk about things they want to accomplish offensively, I'm not sure that sack and sack are on their play sheet.
Back-to-back sacks have this place in a frenzy as they line up again, 3rd and long now. A give running left. It's Sanders. And he'll be about a full yard shy of the 20 at the 19-yard line. It'll be a gain of 5, and the punt team will now come out on 4th down.
Well, they got off the field on 3rd down. An excellent job, an excellent defensive series. We always talk about adjustments, and usually only at halftime. But the best teams adjust series to series. And on that series, they adjusted so well that they got the job done in fine style.
So on 4th down, here's the Australia native Mitch Wishnowsky to punt this one away. Back deep, two-time Pro Bowler Dante Hall. Well, coming up in the second half, we'll run through John's post-coaching triumphs. But for now, we present a very special tribute to the man of the hour, narrated by Trey Mosley.
What comes to mind when you hear the name Madden? Is it the coach who led the Raiders to their first Super Bowl victory? Perhaps it's the broadcaster who entertained millions of fans. Or maybe it's the video game known simply by his name. But no matter what comes to mind when you hear the name Madden, everyone thinks of one thing: football.
The core of it was football. It's the greatest game in the world. The left goes to the right goes to the left.
Madden is on the field. He wants to know if it's real. John Madden goes on the shoulders of his players.
In my mind, John Madden is the most important figure in the history of professional football. Show me somebody else who did it on 3 levels the way John did it. There's nobody.
Boy, Charles, yeah, that is really well done. Coach was something else, wasn't he?
I'm reminded what Al Davis said when he was inducted coach of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Brandon. He loved the game. He loved his team. He loved the Raiders. He loved this league. And you can see it with everything he does.
No doubt. But it's quite possible, though, that now he would say, hey, enough of that. Let's play some football. The second half forthcoming from Oakland. Now, the AFC making their way out, and it's one of Coach's favorites, another local guy, Tom Brady, who will be at the controls. And, boy, Coach always admired the way number 12 could run an offense, and especially his ability to stay calm under pressure.
Tom Brady is a guy who's always looking downfield. He never looks at the rush. He hangs in the pocket, and he makes a throw. He's a cool guy. He's a tough guy. Let me tell you, there's no one calmer in the pocket than Tom Brady.
And I know that Coach has a great appreciation for Tom Brady, who turned 45 back on August 3rd, because Coach coached a guy like him in George Blanda, who played a long time in the NFL. In this game, it features legends and active players. Tom Brady qualifies as both.
On first down, Brady. And, that nearly their first pick of the game, but it falls down to the ground, incomplete. So now, Charles, to pick up the story we've been telling, John Madden at 42. He just completed a 10-year stint as the coach of the Raiders. He wants to step away a bit from the grind of coaching, but he doesn't want to step away from the game of football. So he ends up signing on with CBS in 1979 to try his hand at broadcasting. And much like his coaching career, he was pretty much an instant success.
Partner, he really connected with the people right from the start, and people may not remember, he wasn't even on the number 1 team in the beginning. He worked his way up. But the same things that made him a great coach made him a great broadcaster. The ability to show the big picture, yet break it down into the details. That's what he did with his teams. That's what he did with the people. That way, he was simple to understand, yet insightful for viewers. And he did with that big personality that he had, one that connected with everyone.
On play action, it's Brady. And he's going to have to eat this one as down he goes. Reggie White, what a force. Got back there for the sack. And before this second down play, we'll get a whistle, a signal, and a timeout. It's just their first, so 2 remaining as they burn one here in this third quarter. And they need to work to at least get some of this yardage back after the sack. 2nd and 19. Brady. This is caught. It's Brown. And he has a big gain inside the 40 before being dropped. So for Coach Madden, Charles, by 1981, his broadcasting career is really taking off. He's elevated to the network's #1 booth that calls all the big matchups. And he gets the plum assignment of calling Super Bowl 16, 49ers and Bengals, and he's teamed up with Pat Summerall. And that pairing ultimately would go on to be one of the most influential in sports broadcasting history.
Influential not just in us listening to them. Remember, they went on and called 8 Super Bowls together. But how they put together kind of the template that all of us broadcasters follow now. Sitting down with the head coaches and the quarterbacks and the stars of each team before a ball game to get extra information. And the way that those two paired together, Pat Summerall, short, concise, to the point, and turned it over to Coach Madden to fill in all the big details.
That's a strong pickup right there on 1st down. And as this drive goes on, we're seeing an offensive line and running game imposing its will.
They keep it on the ground. Allen again. And he will take this in for an AFC touchdown. Marcus Allen. A 6-yard touchdown run. And the AFC has taken the lead. Hard to argue with that being their best drive of the game so far as they use the running game to get them into the end zone.
Couldn't agree more, partner. Prior to that drive, they sputtered a little bit, but it looks like they found the formula. I would expect them to go back to that more and more as this game develops.
Vinatieri connecting on the extra point. And the lead is now 10-7. So that drive in total 8 plays. And it's capped off by a touchdown run of 6 yards. And here's Vinatieri now to kick it away after the touchdown. And Hester content to hold on to this one and bring it out to the 25. Now the NFC heading back out. Hall of Famer Randy Moss a part of this offense. And Coach Madden, boy, he always appreciated the ferociousness with which number 84 attacked the football in the air.
As Randy Moss says, just chunk it up there, dog, and I'll go get it.
And, Coach, boy, did he ever go get it. Over 15,000 receiving yards, 156 touchdowns. And how about this? From his rookie year of 1998 until 2009, those were his prime seasons, right? He led the league in touchdowns 5 times, but even more so, he showed us all how to go up and get it. Great body control. No one's ever done it better playing the ball in the air.
2nd and 6, just inside the 30. Here's Favre to throw. It's caught by Sanders. That one a 1st down pickup of 8. Off the play fake, here's Favre. Flushed out right. Completes it to the tight end, Kittle. And they're going to get this up to midfield. As you mentioned, CD, talking about John Madden, the broadcaster, he called 8 Super Bowls with Pat Summerall, 3 more with Al Michaels later in his career. He spent nearly 3 decades in the booth all told. And not only was he beloved for his mannerisms, we know that, but he was an innovator as well.
Yeah, Brandon, you're talking about things like the telestrator, which totally became identified with him, and now it's a staple for all analysts to have in the booth. And then you think about things like turducken on Thanksgiving, when he used words like boom and pow. He helped create the All Madden team. He was a very popular commercial pitch man. And even the Madden Cruiser was unique, and you had to be someone to get a ride on it, too.
On 1st and 10, it's Sanders. And he's got some space here. And he is tackled inside the 40, not quite to the 35.
Now, CD, we did get a little ahead of ourselves talking about John Madden, the broadcaster in the 90s and 2000s, because there was another product during that time period that he became quite famous for, and it's something that you and I know a little bit about, and that's the video game that bears his name. Originally John Madden Football when it was first released back in the late 1980s, and now known the world over simply as Madden.
And Coach saw this originally as a way to teach the game of football. The early designs were for a 7-on-7 game, but he said no chance. He would not sign off on it. He wanted to be as realistic as possible. He told him, call me when it's 11-on-11. And he got his wish.
Yeah, after that debut, Madden the video game continued to pick up steam through the 90s in a big way. And John himself, many will remember, was a commentator for the series for many years. And now here we are in the 2020s, and this game has sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 million copies.
They'll get it inside the 20 and all the way inside the 15 before they drop it. That third down conversion good for 23.
So, CD, you look at the accumulation of John Madden's achievements in the world of football, the coaching success, the Super Bowl title, the incredible career as a broadcaster with 12 Emmy Awards, Madden the video game. It was very fitting back in 2006 that John Madden got the call to be enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
A more deserving person you will not find. He gave an incredible speech on that day, Brandon. So many of his former Raider players were in attendance. He talked about how he envisioned that when the last person turns off the lights in the hall every night, that the bus talk football amongst themselves. And what a discussion that might be.
Yeah, he finished his speech by saying, today feels like the second time in my life that I'm being carried off on the shoulders of others. Yet instead of off the field, it's into the Hall of Fame. This has been the sweetest ride of them all. So 2 minutes to play in the John Madden legacy game. The AFC clinging on to a slim lead. We're back to Oakland after this.
This is 3rd and 2. Maybe the biggest play in this football game. Back to throw. And he's left with no option here but to throw it away.
Partner, they've got one chance left to keep this one going, and I think for you and me, let's think along with their offensive coordinator now has to think back, cycle through every play of this contest, and remember what's worked and what hasn't, because right here, he needs the best play of the game in order to keep this one alive.
I tell you, the life of a kicker. He has not been called on the entire game. He's over there by the net, but they send him out here in the 4th quarter and say, hey, go tie the game, will you? And guess what? He comes through.
I just don't know how they do it. I really don't. These cats are a different breed from you and me. That's a pressure kick, but that one was never in doubt.
The AFC offense heading back out. You know, Charles, Coach really loved to utilize his tight ends in the passing game. You think about Dave Casper, Hall of Famer for those great Raider teams. And I think he saw a lot of Dave Casper in an all-Madden staple, Tony Gonzalez.
Tony Gonzalez is the type of tight end I think everyone's looking for. He's a guy that can make some big plays from that tight end position. Let me tell you, you better make sure you have him accounted for on every play.
And that's exactly right, because Dave Casper, he could shred defenses down the middle of the field. And that's exactly what Tony Gonzalez did in his entire career. A 14-time Pro Bowl selection. Only Tom Brady has more. There are 6 guys in the 15,000-yard receiving club. He's the only tight end in there. Tony Gonzalez, every snap he had to know where he was because he could make plays short, medium, and long, and often put the ball in the end zone.
After the incompletion, here's 2nd and 10 from the 20. To throw is Brady. And he can't get a throw away. He's taken down.
You think about John Madden in his retirement years post-broadcasting. He was about as active as most people are in their working years. I mean, he continued to play a key role on the NFL's competition committee. He was available to a wide range of people as a tutor, as a mentor. He continued to teach the game of football to all who would listen. And, Charles, as you and I know, he even continued to provide input, a lot of input on the Madden video game.
Yeah, I know a lot of folks that design and build this game certainly look forward to the yearly visits out to the Madden compound that he had out at the East Bay. They pitch the new aspects of each year's game to him, get his feedback, and then get to sit back and spend 6 hours with him on a Sunday, watching football and listening to him tell stories and talk even more ball. It had to be an incredible experience for all involved.
From the 34 now, here's 1st and 10. Now Brady. Rolling to his right. And that is incomplete. He couldn't hold on through the contact. Brings up 2nd down. Brady's incompletion on 1st down leads to a 2nd and 10. Now back to throw. He finds his man complete. That's Gonzalez. And they'll get this down to around the 47-yard line. 1st down now, but the clock continues to move. Back to throw. Brady. And oh, that nearly their first pick of the game, but it falls down to the ground incomplete. So now 2nd and 10 after the incompletion on 1st down. Brady to throw. And he'll get this into the hands of Hill, complete. Now the NFC going to call the first of their 3 timeouts as they get the stoppage with a little over 50 seconds left to go in the game. So how about this for field position after the big play? Inside the 15 now as they come up on 1st and 10. Now Allen. And able to get him inside the 5 here, just inside the 5 to about the 4. Now a 2nd timeout called for by the defense, as the clock's going to stop with 47 seconds to go in the 4th. The last run got 9. That leaves him with 2nd and a yard. Throwing now is Brady. Oh, no, he lost the football. And it's scooped up by the NFC. And a big turnover there as his guys will get the football back.
I think we just saw an example of a game situation that I know is discussed, practiced to the nth degree, go right out the window, and a chance to win the game as well.
Yeah, protect the football. On the other side, you're taught to get in there and rake it out. They did just that.
I mean, they go over this starting in OTAs and mini camps. You go through these situations, and that's the way a lot of teams like to end practice. Finish it off with this type of a drive, kick the game-winning field goal. Everyone feels good and heads to the locker room. In this case, though, they're not going to feel so great about it.
Second down, and back they go to Sanders. And this is not going to be what they needed. They get a few here, but now 3rd down as the clock runs. Now the AFC going to use their final timeout of the half, as they'll stop it with 13 seconds left to play. They'll come to the line, needing only 2 yards to gain the first here. On 3rd down, they'll run it with Sanders. And they will get the conversion on 3rd down, but the clock, a more pressing factor. It goes as a gain of 8, and it moves the chains. Final whistle.
whistle blows, and we need some extra time here to decide who will be the victor.
60 minutes, just not enough some days to decide who's going to win the game.
How fitting is this? Extra football at the Coliseum. Let's just keep playing. Back underway in the John Madden Legacy game. And we will not see a return to start overtime. It'll come out to the 25-yard line. The offense for the NFC ready to get their next drive started. And everyone knows the OT rules, Charles, but pretty simple formula. They go down and get a field goal. We continue play, but if they can find the end zone on this possession, ball game over.
And as meticulously as all teams plan for a game, I don't doubt for a second on that offense coordinator's play sheet, he's got some overtime plays that he wants to run. I know it sounds crazy, but they plan for everything. 1st and 10 all the way throughout the game, 2nd and 7, whatever. Right now, he's looking at that.
And now off to the races down the right side. And he is in for the score. And it is absolute stunned silence here as they win it on the road in overtime. Extra point by Anderson, up and good. And that makes it a 17-10 score. Following the touchdown, here's Anderson to kick it away. Dante Hall going to bring it out of the end zone. And that decision to bring it out ends up not being a good one. Costs him about 5 yards as he's tackled at the 20. The offense for the AFC set to go now. Last time out, remember, they fumbled the football. That led to the touchdown. And, Charles, they were in the red zone, so that's a backbreaker. They got to try to pick up the pieces here on this drive.
Yeah, and I actually started to do the math here, so be patient with me. 12-point swing is the way I calculate it, because not only did they drop the ball in the red zone, they watched the opponent score a touchdown right after that. So their goal, have a drive here and try and get some of those points back.
Now this one complete downfield on the left side. And able to get this one across the 45 before he's brought down. 13 yards as they've got the connection working. His second catch in a row, 1st down. To throw, it's Brady. And this will be incomplete. Physical play on the football there, and it's 2nd down.
It's another zone defense. It looks like it's open for possibilities, but they did a nice job patrolling the middle of the field and forcing an incompletion.
To throw again on 2nd down. Brady. He finds his man. Complete. That's Gonzalez. And he is out of bounds inside the 35. A gain there of 21 yards. So on the other side of the field now, it's 1st and 10 as they've got things rolling on this drive. And to the right side here, it's Allen. And he'll be taken down here just shy of the 30.
That's a good job there by the corner. We do talk about this a lot, that a lot of corners see their job as simply covering receivers. Tackling isn't everyone's thing. But in this case, he came up quickly and made a nice, sure tackle.
Now before this 2nd down play, we'll get whistles and a timeout. They'll be down to just one remaining as we step aside here in overtime. 2nd and 8 coming up. Here's Brady to throw. It's Brown with a great grab. And he's down into the red zone at the 15 after a gain of 15. 1st and 10. Here's Brady. And that is knocked away in the middle of the field and incomplete.
Coaches talk about it all the time. Players talk about it as well. Excellent job staying disciplined in coverage and making that stop. Inside the red zone, every stop like that could be preventing a possible touchdown.
And they're going to be set up now with the ball at the 13-yard line. Out of the huddle now for play number 9 on this drive. This is 3rd down and 8. That throw by Brady incomplete.
I think that was a good job there defensively. They did allow him to drive all the way downfield, but once they got their backs to the goal line, they really turned up the pressure.
Yeah, they let him get all the way down here. Now the field shrinks. They've struggled to convert, and that last incompletion brings up fourth. Brady to throw for it on fourth down. And it's incomplete. So a thrilling finish here in overtime to a game that no one wanted to see end. And for all of us at EA Sports, one final look back as we say, this one's for you, Coach.